It's supposed to start at 2:30, but they're standing around now waiting for me to get to the podium. Yes, sir. I've fired my library USB is on. Okay. I just turned it on. All right. All right, buddy. There, I guess we'll get ready to start looking up. All right. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. All right. All right, bye-bye.
You guys all ready? Oh, perfect. Get a microphone.
All right, I'm putting it up by the podium.
Okay.
Thank you.
Make sure everybody's
Pardon?
safe.
Yeah. You kind of wanted that shot of the jail behind, if you can. Yeah. All right, good afternoon. Thank you for coming. My name is Timothy Gardner, Timothy Gardner. We're here today and we called this press conference to encourage the Cobb County District Attorney Joyette Holmes to do the appropriate thing here and to reopen the criminal investigation into Kevil Wingo's September 29, 2019 death. Most of you all are aware that Kevil Wingo died in this facility about almost a year ago now. And most of you all are aware by now that he was suffering some severe medical issues. He was in the infirmary there, the Wellstar ran infirmary, for over 9 hours, begging for his life, begging to go to the hospital, telling them that he was having issues with his ulcer, asking them to help him, letting them know he could not breathe. And for 9 hours, he suffered severe criminal neglect. But to add insult to injury, after that 9-hour period, the head Wellstar charge nurse, who still works in this facility, made the decision that she had enough of his complaints and asked that he be removed from one of the only places that could help him and sent to a padded cell. The deputies of this institution and the watch commander and a sergeant at that time then took Mr. Wingo's lifeless body, wheeled him into a padded cell, dumped him in there, put his face basically on a toilet grate, stripped him of his clothes, and threw a suicide smock on his back. He died 10 minutes later. We had to investigate this case for over 10 months to get all of the facts and information to support the charges that we're making right now. We now have all of the video evidence that we've asked for, we think, other than what they have failed to provide us. We now have the recorded interview statements of both the Wellstar medical staff, the deputies in the institution, other inmates that all support that Mr. Wingo was fighting for his life September 29, 2019, and everyone ignored his cries for pain. That has to stop. It is time for this Cobb County District Attorney to take our pleas seriously and to listen to Kevil Wingo and his family for the first time. We have sent her information this week that highlights the severe, gross criminal misconduct of the deputies in this facility, the watch commander, the sergeant, and all of the Wellstar staff that attended to Mr. Wingo. It is absolutely unfathomable that these individuals have not been charged with crimes. It is equally unfathomable that all of them still work in this facility and are receiving taxpayer salaries. That has to stop. Sheriff Neil Warren can make the decision today to make sure that every single person that was involved in Kevil Wingo's death is terminated immediately. But even more importantly, Cobb County District Attorney Holmes has a responsibility to the entire Cobb County community to make the decision to reopen the investigation that Sheriff Wingo launched into himself. And as most of you know by now, there was a criminal investigation that the Cobb County Sheriff's Office opened, and they closed it in February 2020. And at the end of that, after having all the information that we've reviewed and that's recently been in the media lately, they made the decision to close that investigation with no criminal findings. In addition to that, they then opened an internal affairs investigation. That internal affairs investigation was concluded in June of 2020, despite the fact that they had reviewed all of the video evidence, all of the statements, all of the interviews back in November of 2019. That internal affairs investigation was closed in June of 2020, and it found no violations of Cobb County policies and procedures. That's not true. We know for a fact that many of Cobb County's policies and procedures were violated that evening. Number one, Mr. Wingo never should have been placed in a close observation cell. He didn't meet the criteria to be placed in such a room. They didn't fill out the appropriate forms to place him in there. They didn't evaluate him. But number two, later on that evening, after they dumped his lifeless body and allowed for him to die 10 minutes after putting him in there, they had a responsibility per their policies and procedures to watch and monitor that cell every 15 minutes, or if you listen to the deputies, every 12 minutes. We know that wasn't done. They didn't monitor his cell. Instead, they did cursory checks where they scanned their badges but never looked inside the window to give Mr. Wingo at least some chance at life. It is time for the Cobb County District Attorney to not issue empty statements to the press without speaking to the family first. You must speak to the family and communicate to them what your intentions are. let the family know that you will reopen the investigation into Kevil Wingo's death. It is your responsibility, and you can do that now. You don't have to wait until the Supreme Court lifts any stays due to COVID-19. You have it within your power, within your authority, to reopen an investigation, and if you don't want to do it yourself, then contact the Georgia Bureau of Investigation and request that they do it. It's common decency. We have given you sufficient evidence that a crime has been committed. You have everything that they claim that they have related to Mr. Wingo's death. We even created a documentary to make it simple, and we employ everyone to go to the website at kevilwingo.com to learn more about this tragedy and why this never should have happened. We implore the Cobb County District Attorney to do the right thing. We are going to continue to follow up with her, and if she won't do the right thing, then we're going to go to other government officials and continue to press until every single person responsible for Kevil Wingo's death is charged with the crime. This isn't a case where someone died and the family's just full of emotions and has a call to action. This is a specific case. This is not an all lives matter situation. This is a Kevil Wingo situation, and his life mattered. His life deserved respect, he deserved dignity, and his family deserves answers, and now they deserve a prosecution. I want to thank David Wilkerson for coming on out here, the NAACP, the other community organizers for being here today. I think Representative David Wilkerson is going to say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner. First, I want to express my condolences to the family. I hate that they have to be out here today, and I don't think anybody wants to be here today. This is not something we asked for. So if you hear politicians tomorrow saying that it's just a political stunt, trust me, I value my life, I value their lives. That's not just the constituents behind me. Those could be my family members. And you want to make sure that no matter what they've done, that they have a chance to go to court and have their cases heard. I think the sheriff has recognized that he has issues. That's why he's doing an internal investigation of his department. We're not asking for that. What the family is asking for is specifically to look at this case and determine what happened. We all saw the video. I don't think anybody thinks that video is acceptable. But what we're asking for is that they look into it. And we can't do that. I can't do that as a state representative. The district attorney can do that. And we're asking District Attorney Holmes to work with the family to find out what happened and to get answers. That's not something that can be done internally. We've had this discussion at the Capitol. Whenever there's a death in custody or an officer-involved death, it should be investigated by a separate party. It should not be handled internally because you're not going to get the same answers. You're not going to be able to get the same answers with the person you work with every day. So what we're asking for is to do the right thing by this family. I stand in support of it. I will be here in support, and I will continue to work with the family to do what I can do to make sure that your voices are heard. But like I said, this is nothing political. This is about a family that lost a loved one. And if you watch that video, which I've seen, there's no way you can assume that that was the right thing to do. So I'm asking the district attorney to look into it. I'm asking the sheriff to reach out to the GBI. I'm asking the sheriff to actually ask the district attorney to look into it. I think that's the right thing to do, and I believe Ms. Grimes has something to say from the NAACP. Thank you.
And I too share that same sentiment to the family. We are deeply saddened by the continual things that happen at this Cobb County Detention Center. No one comes to be detained at the Cobb County Adult Detention Center to die. No one comes to the Cobb County Detention Center where you are detained. No one comes here to die. And so I stand in support of this family and their loss, as the NAACP recognizes that this is not the one and only problem. There have been a host of problems before this. And we are asking, as an organization, for a thorough and full investigation be done on the operations and the policies and the practices that take place in this facility, because something has to be done. Something has to be done. So my condolences to the family again, and I say that we are going to continue to fight until justice is served. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Christopher Bruce, Political Director for the ACLU of Georgia. We're here again at the Cobb County Adult Detention Center after another death. My condolences to the family, but condolences aren't enough. We stand in support and solidarity of everyone behind me and the rest of the community of Cobb County of saying we need an investigation. And we are requesting District Attorney Holmes to call out for the GBI to come out here and investigate the litany of offenses that have happened already. Specifically on this instance, it is well within her authority to do so, and District Attorney Holmes should. We've seen enough death.
Absolutely.
Justice delayed is justice denied.
Absolutely.
And we know that we need justice for this family and for the community of Cobb County. District Attorney Holmes can do this, and they can do this right now. We already have an instance where a young man was murdered and his killers were in their bed sleeping for over 70 days because justice delayed is justice denied. And this is where we request District Attorney Holmes to do an investigation for this killing, for this murder, right now. Thank you.
And just to conclude, to put a face to this delayed justice, I want to introduce the Wingo family, especially his 3 young children, Kiera, Erica, and Kevil, and his sister Tiffany. This is the face of the justice that's been denied, who are still requesting justice after almost 12 months. We hope that DA Holmes will reopen this investigation, and we thank you all for your time. All right, thank you. Any questions?
We want justice. We want justice. We want justice.
Tiffany, you want to?
My name is Tiffany Wingo. I'm Kevil's sister. All I want is justice for my brother, and I want everybody to be charged in the death of this murder. Like, he didn't have to die like that. Like, they just left him, dumped him off like he was an animal. And it's like they don't care, and Cobb County's not doing nothing to open the case. Like, I want everybody, to the nurse, to the officer, to be charged. Y'all want to say something? Yes. Yes. Justice. No peace. Justice. No peace.
I'm Kiera Wingo, Kevil Wingo's daughter. Yes, like my auntie said, we want justice for our dad because it wasn't right how they treated him and how he consistently asked for help and was denied, and they just let him die, basically. So we want everybody involved to be charged.
Spell your first name, please. Spell your first name.
Oh, Kiera.
I think you mentioned this before, but what are your responses in general about the nurses that are still working at the facility that were caring?
They gotta go.
I think we just heard the response. They have to go, and they should have been gone. These nurses should not have continued to be on staff. The day that Mr. Wingo died, they should have been terminated. They interviewed these nurses September 29, 2019. And they also interviewed them again in October. They had all the facts and information. Instead, they chose to ignore it. They reviewed the videos many months before we received the videos. They chose to ignore it. These nurses and the deputies, not just the nurses, it didn't take a nurse to see that Mr. Wingo was in medical distress. It didn't take a nurse to see, or a medical provider to see, that he was dying. It took a human being to recognize that fact. And if you are a human being and you have love for anything, then you're going to find it when within yourself when you see someone like that to help them. It's common decency. But when it's your job and when it's your responsibility, despite how difficult the job may be sometimes for people within this institution, you have taken on that responsibility. And when you take on such a responsibility, you have to take it seriously. And if you're going to have a cavalier approach, if you're going to have an approach where that life doesn't matter or that person doesn't matter, then you're violating the oath that you're sworn to abide by as a registered medical professional. You're also violating the oath that you took as sworn officers to make sure that these people receive due process and recognize the fact that they have not necessarily been convicted of a crime. They are detainees. And as detainees, you have rights. And with those rights become the officer's responsibilities to make sure that they are safe and that they receive the medical care that our Constitution says that they must have. And if that doesn't happen, and if you're going to be careless, if you're going to be callous, and if you're not going to respect human life, then you have to go. You have to go. You have to go. It is time. It is time. It is enough. You have to go.
You have to go. You have to go. You have to go. You have to go. You have to go.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Yes.
State Representative, I'm with the AAC. I just had a follow-up question.